Hi everyone, and welcome to the Taurus Sun, Moon, and Rising Spiritual Connection reading. This is I Am Illuminated, tarot and meaning-based spiritual coaching service. I am Lauren. Thank you for joining me here. So all of my content on this YouTube channel as well as my website is here to engage you with the Triad of Engagement, which focuses on the three basic principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation, and showing you how when applying them together, you can keep yourself fully engaged and feeling in flow with the unique energetic imprint of your life. Additionally, all content is here to help you answer your very own I am questions so that you can re-engage with life in a more authentic, meaningful, and emotionally fulfilling way. If you are interested in learning more about the Triad of Engagement, I have 2 video links in the description box below that can help show you how just by working with these 3 basic principles, they can liberate you from the feelings of frustration, fear, and anxiety and reconnect you with the feelings of place and purpose and emotional connection to fulfillment. All right, everyone, let's get right into your reading. So spiritual connection, what does that mean? That means we are looking at the energies between the connection between your unique, internal, individual spiritual self and your external environment. So we're going to start here by pulling some cards for your energy, Taurus, and we'll take a look at what you're working with currently. So what as a unique individual. And right off the bat, we have Ace of Swords. So Ace of Swords is a card of personal truth. It's a card of clarity of thought as well. So this is a great energy to be sitting with, Taurus. Again, this is the gift of your own personal truth. So when I think of each one of us as an individual, unique, singular being, I also think of us as each having our own unique perspective, which in turn equates to our truth. This is kind of like your personal Excalibur waiting in your stone, and only you can pull it out. And in addition to that, this is the gift of clarity of thought from the divine. So it's kind of, you're basically sitting with right now this beautiful energy of clarity, of knowledge of self, and your awareness of your own personal truth. So let's take a look now at what is the energy in your external environment currently. And what are you being asked, or why are you being asked to engage this energy of personal truth with the external environment? What are you going to learn about yourself, and how is your external environment going to benefit from this? All right, what are our Tauruses sitting with as far as their external energy? Ooh, the Tower. Okay, it's a shakeup coming on, guys. So the Tower represents, I've described this in other readings, but the Tower really can represent 2 things. It's definitely a shakeup. This can be on an internal or external level, but generally it's when we've become stuck in an energy or a place, and instead of us choosing to take action on our own behalf, to change our circumstances and grow beyond them, unfortunately we stay stuck. And then it's on the universe, our destiny side of our interaction here. So when I talk about engagement and connection, that's really where the external environment is, where destiny comes into play. And our internal environment is where our free will comes into play, where we decide to engage and interact with that external kind of divine plan. Now, when we choose not to take action on our own behalf, oftentimes what happens is the universe, spirit, you can choose how you would like to call it, comes in to shake things up, comes in to say, look, it's time for you to move forward. It's time for you to move on. It's time for you to grow. And that's what the Tower represents. It represents kind of that lightning strike that allows for anything that is not part of a stable foundation for you moving forward to be released so that you can start on a stable foundation to basically build anew. Now, the Tower can actually be a card of liberation. It can seem like chaos in the moment, but in reality, the reason why you're going through this moment, the reason why your external environment wants you to go through this is so that you can actually realize your truth in your external environment. This is one of those things where we can all of a sudden have this aha moment and start to see ourselves and start to understand our truth and start to understand clarity of self. But we can sit with that without engaging it in our external environment. We can be afraid to make this new self-discovery known to others or bring this into our environment. Like maybe this is a realization that the work you've been doing is no longer holds meaning for you, or the family life that you have set up now has you have changed within it. And instead of deciding to take action on behalf of this new clarity of self, you sit and try to keep the status quo. And what you're being told right now is, well, too bad. The reason why you have this clarity is so that you can bring and work with this truth in the external environment. It's needed now. So there is going to be a little bit of a shakeup. But again, it's about release and liberation. It's not something to be feared. It's something actually that generally, when we think of the Tower energy on an internal level, this is usually what happens when we rediscover our personal truth. It's almost like all of a sudden on an internal level, we see everything differently. Our perspective changes, and that is like the Tower falling down. So now I'm going to pull cards here to see what the energy is in your void. And when I talk about the void is the protective barrier that we create as we move from childhood into adulthood that consists of all of the times we made the attempt to bring a unique part of our individual self into engagement with our external environment. And when we did not receive what we considered a beneficial outcome or response. So this would be you bringing a part of yourself out and it being criticized, or you attempting to work with a part of your unique abilities or gifts and it failing. And instead of us having the perception that our external environment is a learning ground, a forever growing teaching classroom, we instead look at that failure as a failure and a reason to not bring that part of ourselves back out again, instead of to say, okay, I see what went wrong here. Let me learn from that and continue to grow and develop my gift or ability into something even stronger. Ooh. Okay. And so what ends up happening is that this void ends up becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's filled with all of our fears, all of our anxieties, and eventually becomes where our frustrations lie as well. Because at a certain point, if this void becomes too big, we end up not connecting on any part of our on any authentic level with our external environment. So we don't feel that our engagement with our external environment has any value. And this is when we start to lose time, as I see it. That we're going through the day-to-day motions, we have no connection to self, and we're just going through the tasks. And all of a sudden we can look back at a whole year that's gone by and realize we can barely remember what we did. And in the reverse, what happens is that then the external environment does not reflect yourself because it can't connect the reverse way. You have all this protective barrier up against you and it, and so the people out here can't see your authentic self or engage with you, and you in turn can then get frustrated and say, well, how come no one sees me as I want to be seen? How come my environment doesn't reflect what I envisioned for myself? And that's because you're hiding yourself. Okay. All right, Taurus, let's get right into the reading here. Now I'm going to go over what I see here as far as your fear points, and then I'm going to pull cards for the Triad of Engagement to give us some advice and clarity as to how to overcome these fears and work with the principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation. Okay, Taurus, so this first card here is your card of, this is your fear point or your challenge, and it's the moon. Now the moon is a card that is associated in the tarot with the unknown, a lack of clarity. I like to look at it as, and one of my favorite tarot readers, Aquarian Insight, she once, a while back, described this as, can you walk this path on faith? And that so resonated with me because that really does sum up the energy of this moon card of, can you walk this path on faith? You're being called up by the moon, and in this picture it's a lobster being called up and out of the water. So he's being called out of his natural habitat to be asked to move forward into a shadowy darkness, into a new realm that is not what he is, basically being called out of his comfort zone. And when we think of a moonlit night, we may be able to see a little bit here and there, but the majority of things are going to be cast in shadow, and we can misinterpret what we see. And that's really why we have to kind of fall back on this element of being called up and asked to continue this journey on faith. Now, where we can have a fear point based around this is when we've tried to do that in the past and we have not. Basically, we've been in the shadows, we've seen something that scared us, and we've scuttled back into the sea. We did not continue to walk that path on faith. Now, this can look like starting a lot of different projects and not following through to completion because you just couldn't quite see where they were going. Now, I'm a Taurus sun myself, and I fully understand and embrace this energy. I am somebody who, and I think a lot of Tauruses as an earth sign, we like to get our hands dirty. But I can tell you from my own personal experience that I am somebody who has started many different things, and when they didn't quite seem to be, let's say, manifesting as I had hoped, or manifesting as fast as I wanted, or there was perhaps what I perceived as more work needed than I had anticipated, and it got a little scary, a little overwhelming, I scuttled back to my safety zone. And this is where you're being asked to step into a place of faith. That right now you're being given this gift of clarity, of personal truth for a reason. And your external environment is changing dramatically. There is something going on that is a big shift that is going to knock things down for a reason. And it's so that you can step into this place of almost like childlike curiosity and faith in the greater divine plan for your truth. Because that's the only way we will actually step into a place of courage to express our truth, is if we feel that there is this connection to a greater purpose, that we are being called up now. And this is going to basically take being out of your comfort zone. Now, this is right after the moon comes the Seven of Cups, and the Seven of Cups is showing me right now that you have tried a lot of projects, or a lot of, basically the Seven of Cups is seeing so many options in front of you that seem like they could be emotionally fulfilling, and not really being able to pick one. It's the illusion that our cup can be filled from the outside by a choice that we make to follow a passionate pursuit. And in reality, it's the reverse. Only we can fill our cup. And there's only one cup that is ours, which is the cup, the Ace of Cups, which would be similar to the Ace of Swords, but in the cups, would be your direct connection to spirit. That is your ever overflowing cup of love from the divine. And we can lose sight of that when we think that there's a new shiny something else that might make us feel better. Meaning we are not happy in just in and of ourselves. We are constantly looking externally to see if there's more that can be poured into what we should already know is an already overflowing cup. And so with these two here, I'm seeing that this is the challenge. The challenge is that it's time to be called out of your comfort zone, which is, unfortunately, if you choose not to take action on this new personal truth, on this clarity of self and what you want to do with it now, unfortunately, the universe is going to step in. So you can avoid the tower. You can avoid an external shakeup by simply stepping into this energy and out of your comfort zone. By realizing that no matter what cup you choose, the cup that ultimately will bring that emotional fulfillment is the one that you already have. You already need, or you already should be internally aware of what emotionally fills your cup. And what does that look like? That means you should already know what would make you feel connected to others. What would make you feel like you're connecting your authentic truth on an emotional level to your external environment in a way that ends up being of service. And to not get caught up in basically all that glitters, all that glitters is not gold, so to speak. And that's kind of what this is. It's that illusion of like, but I could try this and I could try that and I could try this and I could try that. And in reality, sometimes this can lead to not being able to make a decision, not being able to take action. And so this is, again, your challenge. Now I move into the Princess of Cups, which is the Page of Cups in the traditional tarot. And the Page of Cups is a beautiful energy. It's a reminder of basically bringing a childlike sense of awe and wonder back to looking at your cup. Not the cups outside of you, not everybody else's cups, or the illusion that something external is going to bring emotional fulfillment. It's coming back to connection with, oh my gosh, this is what I'm passionate about. Clarity. This is what I really bring to any situation. This is what makes me an individual, and this is what makes me feel emotionally connected to the feeling of happiness when I get to bring this part of myself to any situation. This is what's in my cup. This is what makes me feel loved from the divine as the unique being that I am. And then there's this element with the Page of Cups that's almost like wanting to go out and share this. Like it's almost a feeling of, well, what can't I do with this part of myself? Like I want to share my cup with everybody. And on the other side of this, we have the Nine of Wands and the Nine of Swords. Now the nines in the tarot are numbers of finality. You're getting to the last stage of a cycle. And with the nines come the lessons learned for the entire cycle. So the Nine of Wands is the wounded warrior card. It's this is the lesson of how far you come in taking action based on passion and being able to take the lessons learned over the past nine cards or 9 years, depending on how you want to see it, and being able to bring those lessons forward to get past kind of this weary warrior stage to move on and release. So the Nine of Wands can be seen as, again, a wounded warrior. I've come this far. I've fought all these battles. I've taken all this action, but I'm tired and I don't know if I wanted to take the one last step that it takes to complete this cycle. And you're being asked to do so, to release the cycle that you've been in. Now, the Ten of Wands, which comes after the Nine of Wands, is a card of burden. It's a card of a man being depicted carrying all of these 10 wands on his back, instead of holding one wand triumphantly, which is your connection to your passion and your eternal internal flame. And when you get to the 10 is meant to show us where you have to release, where, okay, you've come this far, you've put in all this work, you've learned your lessons, and now it's time to reconnect fresh with your one wand. What did you learn from this cycle? No, you don't have to carry the burdens of the past on your back. Instead, you can walk away with just like you have your own clarity of personal truth and you can just have one sword. The same can be of the wands and passion. You walk forward with just clarity on your one passion. Now, the Nine of Swords is a card of worry. This is basically, and I mean, I can completely see how this is like your ultimate challenge. So your ultimate fear point is getting out of your comfort zone and diving into the knowledge of what really fills your cup now, what emotionally connects you to everything, based on your new clarity of personal truth. But now there's this last step in moving into engagement with your external environment, which is worry. The Nine of Swords is a card of worry. These are the thoughts that keep us up at night, the negative what ifs, the learned negative thought patterns. And this is also a card of illusion, because we will never be able to anticipate every outcome that can occur in our external environment, because it is beyond our control. So we can go down the negative what if path all we want and then think we're being prepared, and we turn the corner and there's something else that happens that we couldn't have even imagined happening. Now, where we can actually, again, where this can prevent us from moving forward, from growing, is where we get so stuck in our thoughts, so stuck in the worry, so stuck in the negative what ifs, that we can't actually connect to ourselves on an emotional level because we're stuck in our heads. And what you're being asked to release here is this worry. What you're being shown is that the universe wants you to engage this clarity of truth now with your external environment. And you're being asked at this time, can you walk this path on faith? And to start to understand that just as you can think of as many negative possibilities or outcomes to a situation or action, there are just as many positive outcomes. So again, this is a card of illusion. And it's also a card of looking back at your thought processes up until now. Because again, this is a culminating energy. It's an energy where you're able to take lessons learned and apply them. And with the Nine of Swords, you have all the other the whole journey of the swords. And what I'm seeing with the Ace of Swords here is that you are basically being asked to complete this cycle and start fresh. Not with all of this worry, but with just one sword of clarity, one sword that will be triumphant. Okay, Taurus, I am going to pull a card so I'm going to pull cards here for the Triad of Engagement, which will kind of help show us additional information as to what we need to do here to get across this void. So curiosity is the first principle that we're working with, and curiosity really engages us with the elements of optimism and openness and receptivity. So curiosity is what helps us build the bridge over the void of fear and anxiety and worry that we've created. And it allows us to be able to start opening ourselves back up again to our external environment in an optimistic way. And this involves us having to tap into that childlike sense of awe and wonder, and to get past the learned negative thought patterns, to get back into that almost beginner's mindset of what isn't a possibility. It's that limitless quality of, I'm meant to engage as myself with the external environment. I'm meant to fulfill a role and be of service in doing so. What possibilities are not going, it's almost like what can't I manifest in doing that, and that with that knowledge. And so that's what you're stepping back into. Now, for curiosity, we have financial constraints, number 13. And this is a very, I think, as far as with building that bridge and this being, a card directly connected to the Nine of Swords, yeah, I'm sure there's an element of worry around financial constraints, especially if being asked to move out of your comfort zone might mean that you have to face a very real fear of having limited resources. That maybe moving on your new clarity of truth is going to involve a change that will either require you to invest or will actually change your circumstances so that you might not have as much as you think you might not have. So this is when we're talking about curiosity. We're looking at being optimistic and open and receptive to our engagement with the external environment. And do you think you'd be asked to engage this, to walk a path on faith out of your comfort zone simply for it to hurt you financially? And this is where you have to start to change your perspective, to realize, well, to be curious. Why is my first instinct that of this kind of poverty mindset of why would working with my truth and bringing my authentic self into my engagement with my external environment, why would that somehow lead to financial constraints? How about instead I look at perhaps maybe where I am constantly focused on this and be curious as to how I might actually be being called up now to engage with my external environment so that I can get past this. Why do I feel that my value here, my self-worth, is not equal to more in the external environment? The number 13 is actually the number that's associated with the Death card in the Major Arcana in the Tarot. And that card symbolizes death and transformation. And what I really feel that you guys should be curious about is how you can transform what probably right now is sitting as a poverty mindset into transforming this, into seeing this in a totally different way, into realizing your worth and value are actually held within, not without. Again, it's not about us looking externally from ourselves to find value. Our value starts with understanding and having the clarity of our own internal self-value. And then we engage that with the external environment and we anticipate a return on our value. So we cash in by bringing our authentic selves into our external environment. And that's really where abundance comes from. So this is kind of where you're building that bridge of how can I change, to be curious. If I didn't think I wasn't going to be able to make money from myself, what would I do differently? And can I change this perspective to see it in a different way? Can I transform this negative mindset, poverty mindset? Can I transform it into saying, okay, let me see, by bringing myself out now, what it will return to me? Now I'm going to pull a card for courage. And courage is our seat of personal power. It's actually where we step into a role of control, the only actual place of control that we have in our lives, because we can't control what's going on in our external environment. But with courage, we actually have the ability now to have the courage, which you'll need to get out of your comfort zone, to make the decision to take the action to actually walk across the bridge. It's not enough to just build the bridge. Because then if we just build the bridge and we stay on our side looking longingly over and wondering about all the positive what ifs now happening on that side, if we never make the move to actually take action towards physically engaging, well, it's always just going to be us in fantasy land. So for you guys, for your seat of personal power, it says surrender your fear of intimacy. You are ready to let love in. Compassionately identify and begin to release any patterns that stop you from opening your heart. Beautiful, Taurus. So this really, I think, denotes having to rely on the people closest to you to help get you to have the courage to walk across this bridge. I think there are times in our lives where we feel that, especially when we have a moment of clarity and we realize our personal truth, or we start to see things in a very different perspective, we become afraid of actually wanting to share this with people closest to us because we have this mindset that, well, they see me in this way, or they won't accept this about me. But true love, true unconditional love, comes from loving that person as they are. Just like we are loved by the divine. We are all our own unique individuals that are meant to fulfill a place in the greater collective for a reason. So what we think might be this kind of imperfect version of ourselves that we're afraid to share with the world is actually the very thing that once we start to share it is what's going to open us up to the love and abundance that we've possibly been holding away from ourselves, that we've been creating a barrier against. And especially here it says, compassionately identify and begin to release any patterns that stop you from opening your heart. And this can be both in intimate relationships. This can also be opening your heart to your external environment. Often, and I know I've been in a place where I've experienced this, we will, kind of create this catch-all for a stereotype or an applied negative outcome, and we apply it as this kind of catch-all to our external environment. Like, oh, I would never share that on YouTube because everybody out there is just so negative, and I just couldn't deal with all the negative, responses and comments I'd get. And it's like, well, have you even tried to share your truth on YouTube? Have you even engaged in any capacity? What if it was totally different? And what if instead of receiving all these negative responses, what if you received beautiful comments from people who were incredibly supportive? What you're doing is you're projecting your own fear onto others instead of respecting that each individual is not part of a mass. We are individuals. And so the faith comes, especially with taking courage to act with your external environment, that the collective human experience is made up of individuals as unique as you. as able to make their own courageous decisions as you are. And that when we open our hearts as an individual in faith to our external environment, that is returned to us. When we choose not to, and we stay stuck by fear, that's when we don't receive any love back, because we're not allowing that channel to be open. You know, to sit here and say, well, no one accepts my truth. Well, have you actually expressed it to anybody? And I think sometimes because we are living through our own perspective, we don't realize that we haven't shared the most intimate parts of ourselves. And sometimes it is about just being honest with a partner in your life, or a family member, or a friend, somebody who you really respect and want to be loved and seen as your unique self by. It's being truly intimately open with them about who you are, sharing that truth. And that's when they in turn have the ability to share theirs. And that's where you get to share your cup. And that's the beauty of intimacy. That's the beauty of connection. And that's what spiritual connection is all about. Connecting your meaning and purpose to another's meaning and purpose. All right, now I'm going to pull a card, for contemplation, which is the final step in the Triad of Engagement. And contemplation is the last step because it is the ticket back across the bridge. It's where we've engaged, we've taken action to engage with our external environment, and now we're going to walk back and take a look at ourselves, where we are going to be engaging with reflection and integration. And this is where we learn about the consequences of our actions. So we take stock. We say, okay, we built the bridge of curiosity. I opened myself up. I engaged with the external environment. And now what were the consequences? What happened? Now, how does that help me develop and become more aware of myself? And how can I become stronger now in continuing to bring parts of myself forward across the bridge to engage again with my external environment? So for contemplation, you have Star Mother. It says, how can you mother yourself? And boundaries. Where do you need to establish better boundaries? And I think that these two go hand in hand very nicely. With Star Mother, when you think about this, how can you mother yourself? Oftentimes we are so focused on being supportive of other people in our lives that we forget to turn that unconditional love back to ourselves. We forget to remember our connection directly to Source Spirit, and that we are perfect in our imperfection. We are perfect in our singular individuality, and that just like a mother will always be there to love her child, we are in that same position with Spirit. And we have to bring that loving energy back to ourselves. I think this is a great place for contemplation to take a look and say, where in the past have you not felt that love towards yourself? I mean, even the fact here that I'm seeing that there's a hesitation in wanting to bring forward your truth and clarity out into your external environment says that there's this element of not seeing your own beauty. And a mother would come and tell you how beautiful you are. A mother would say, sweetheart, everybody should know this side to you. And with boundaries, where it says, where do you need to establish better boundaries? This is, I think, very integral with being able to emotionally connect to our cup, to understand what is ours and what is not ours. that it is not about us going out and depleting our cup by pouring from ourselves into other people, just as it isn't on us to absorb other people's truths because we're too afraid to speak our own. And this is where, with contemplation, you can both take a look back at past actions you've taken and to see where your lack of boundaries and your lack of appreciation for your own individuality has prevented you from fully stepping into your own place of personal power. All right, Taurus, I'm going to go ahead and pull some additional clarifying cards for a few last messages. Oh, I don't know how that got in there. For your own internal energy and for your external environment. So just to see if there's any additional messages that want to come out, I'm going to go ahead. Let's see here. Ooh, we have the Hanged Man, beautiful. And let's see if there's anything else wants to come out for the Ace of Swords. We have the King of Wands. Okay, so the King of Wands and the Hanged Man. And now I'm going to pull, see if there's any additional cards for the Tower. We have the Five of Cups. And let's see if there's anything else. Ooh, this one just popped out, and the Four of Wands. Okay. So, the Hanged Man and the King of Wands. With these two cards here. So the Hanged Man is a card of a forced pause that by the divine to be able to see what is from a new perspective. And I think that this is where your clarity is coming from, that suddenly you are able to see with this new clarity of truth yourself and perhaps also the place that your truth has now in your current environment. You're able to see things from this different perspective. Now, the King of Wands is what I consider CEO energy. The King of Wands is a king who acts from a place of passion. He is confident. He knows how to, he basically continues to take action consistently based from his own passions. He is not one to have weak boundaries. He's not one to be caught up in other people's passions. He instead is focused on creating a kingdom for himself from his own passions. And I think perhaps what I'm seeing here is that with this level of clarity around your personal truth, there is an element of having a different perspective now on where you can step up into this energy, where you can perhaps start to build your own kingdom based on your own passions and where that fits. So where you're having clarity on, I think, your, not only your own truth, but also what you're passionate about, what fills your cup, what is your emotional tie to this truth and how it can be applied in your external environment. I think you're starting to see perhaps maybe something that was maybe even negative and you had to pause. And this is really kind of where I feel like perhaps you guys have been sitting with something for a while. Because a hangman is that element of a divine pause. And this divine pause could simply be the pandemic. This could be that you guys were trying to move forward on something and the pandemic held you back, or you know, your job situation changed, your home life situation changed, something changed that forced you to go into this place of seeing your situation differently. And in doing so, I think now you guys maybe had been sitting with an idea, a thought, a clarity of truth and vision, and didn't quite know how to apply that. And perhaps that's why there was this kind of start and stop energy of like, I'll go out of my comfort zone and I'm going to go back. I'll go out and I'll come back. And now you're realizing, no, this is actually where I can step up to be the CEO of my own life, so to speak. This is what I can actually do with this in the external environment. And then here we have Four of Wands and the Five of Cups. And the Five of Cups is a card of disappointment. It's a card of regret. It's someone who's focused on 3 spilled cups without realizing that he has 2 full cups behind him, which he can go forward with and share with another. This is kind of this is a card that I always see as someone who has this beautiful relationship waiting for them, that somebody is here saying, you know, ready to cheers their cup and meet them on this equal level, and yet they're so focused on all the people that have hurt them previously, all the relationships, all the people that have let them down. And combined with the Four of Wands, I feel the Four of Wands can actually be a card that speaks to a relationship or the foundation of a relationship. So this can be like the marriage card. It's also a card that denotes a pause for celebration of building a foundation based on passion and shared passion and taking action towards that. And what I'm seeing here with the Tower is that I think what's going to come to light is this realization that you have somebody in your life that very much wants to support you and support your personal truth. And this could be a marriage partner, or this could be somebody, again, that you're in a committed relationship with, or this could even be a business partner that you two have built a business up into a certain level together. And yet you're still so focused on maybe all of the businesses that you had that didn't work, or all of the, again, if this is a romantic relationship, all of the people, all of the relationships that let you down, that didn't let you shine your truth out there. And where the Tower is coming into play is that you're being asked to release that and to step into your own personal power through connection, emotional connection to those that are here. So whether this is reconnecting with a significant other in your life by actually sharing with them your passion and your clarity of truth. And this could be you finally having to tell your partner, or actually this could, with the Tower coming in, this could very much be your partner coming in to say, I can't take it anymore. You won't be honest with me. I don't feel like we connect anymore. And you seem to be frustrated, and you've tried all of these random things and you seem to not be happy, or you haven't followed through with any of them. And I can't be in this place unless you open up to me. And that's the Tower moment. That's your point of realization that this person wants so desperately to connect with you. They want so much to support you. And that now it's time to share your truth, to share your vision, to share your new perspective, and to be fully optimistic and with faith that they're going to support you. And this could also, if this is a business partner, it could be the same thing. You might have a different vision for a business that you started under one pretense, and now suddenly you see it in a different light. And your business partner is like, dude, you just don't seem to be like showing up to the game anymore. You used to be passionate. You used to come in and do so much. And now all it is this negative mindset. All it is you seeming to be pulling away. What's going on? And that's, enough of that tower, enough of that crumbling to show the cracks in your original foundation to be able to say, okay, I'm going to kick the rest of these old bricks down and say, you know what, you're right. I've had a change of heart. I started this business with you thinking I was all about money, and in reality, I realized it's all about this as an avenue to share my personal truth, and this is what I've connected to now. And so I'm not okay with what we're doing. I'm not okay that we're selling products that have, are made with who knows what, shady labor practices. And now I have to go back and realize that I have to stand by that my truth says I want everything to be handmade by local artisans in a place that is sustainable and helps the local culture and community where they're made grow. It could be something like that. But I do think there's something that it's going to be a shakeup around where you feel you can't share your truth because of past hurts, and where you're going to realize that there is somebody now that you have to be bluntly and honestly truthful with, intimate with, to share your new vision. And that's what's going to tear down the false tower that you've been stuck in and help you to realize that you can walk this new path on faith. And you can be the CEO in your own life and live from a place of passion. You go from the wounded warrior to the king. And that's the progression, that's the growth. All right, Taurus, I hope that this has been an illuminating reading. I look forward to your next reading. If you'd like to book your own personal tarot reading or one-on-one spiritual coaching session, the link to my website is in the description box below. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your day, and that you get out there and you start to fearlessly share your truth. All right, bye, Taurus.